So, how did you end up in First Church?
Well, when we moved back to Columbia City, we were doing a little bit of church shopping through the area. And we really wanted to try to find a place that had a lot of exuberance and life to it, and preferably some drama music programs that were enticing. And we found it here.
The children's program, I really wanted a church that, with having so many little kids, that would be, they would be able to get involved and learn.
Okay. What do we got here? Feedback or?
That may have been from.
All right. And so did you find that here?
Yes, we have found that.
I'm thrilled with the children's program and the things that the girls have learned Sunday nights and Wednesday nights and in the mornings. Learning their memory verses and Kirsten needs to
I already know the pledge to the Christian flag.
Can you do your memory verse?
You do it?
Nothing is impossible with God. We're born solely now.
Good job. Good job. Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the Christian flag and to the Savior for whose kingdom it stands. One Savior, crucified, risen, and coming again with life and liberty for all who believe.
They've learned.
Are you able to get that?
I think that got on there.
What, what's been the greatest joy here?
For me, finding a church family. We were very involved in our church before we moved here to Columbia City, and that's what was the hardest thing for me, was the friendships and the fellowship that I had with people in our church. And I've found that here too, that the closest people to me are people from church. If I have a problem, that's who I call. If I just need to chat, I call friends from church. So that's been my greatest joy, is the friendships.
Are you picking that up?
Yep.
Sure, the girls walking through that.
Yeah, I was gonna say the girls went through in front of the camera a couple times, but
No, did you pick up the cooler?
no, I don't believe that's picking up.
Kirsten,
I believe it is.
Kirsten, I need you to come sit here and stay on the couch.
You say you're not picking that up?
Don't worry about Tori. I need you to come.
I don't think it is.
Okay. I didn't know if it would or not. That's the chiller coming on.
I can hear it.
Yeah, I sure can too. How could, how could the church here better minister to you?
Go ahead, honey. I answered the last one.
No, you.
I don't know about that. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. That's all right. Apparently, not a good interview question, you know?
Well, the church here is already going in a lot of the right direction. Bringing in more praise team groups has been something that we think has brought, a little more to the worship experience. And that's been part of it. We've really enjoyed the music part of coming here, and the time period at the beginning where it's just simply singing and praising the Lord. You have to understand, we came from a more liturgical background in some of our previous churches where it was everyone read the scripture together in a drone-on motion, and this is so much nicer.
Yes.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. It's a whole lot nicer to sing it. Let's put it that way.
maybe enjoyed being in the drama. I mean, I know you're
Yes.
drumming all the time, so.
Yes.
Anything special? I mean, I know you've been certainly in a lot of secular type of drama. Anything special being in the drama that you were in, a couple years ago, that you're going to be in again here soon?
Yeah. It's always nicer working in a church atmosphere. You don't, in terms of doing a show, there's a message behind it that you can get more into than some of the secular dramas you do out there. Plus, just working with people in this atmosphere is a whole lot nicer and a whole lot more pleasant than sometimes working in stage venues elsewhere.
We need a
Once you
picture
don't
of
have
this.
all of the sniping and the little negative things happening. We're all here to have a good time and create a good show and send a message.
Sure.
We need a picture of this.
This is good. As long as you girls don't think I'm Santa Claus, we're all right.
It's a grandpa laugh.
It's a grandma laugh.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I'm getting ready for a late night. You girls are training.
That's
So
right.
That's the thing.
There you go, grandpa.
Are you guys in the Sunday school class?
Yes,
Okay. Tell me about your Sunday school class.
it's getting bigger all the time.
Oh, yes.
We've got an ever-increasing group. In fact, we had to move into a different room to accommodate the growing group. And it's great both for fellowship and for lesson.
We have prayer time, praise and concerns before we start our class, and that's wonderful. It's a good way to know what's going on with everyone in the class, and you really feel connected that way by having that prayer time before we start into the lesson. And we have a prayer chain just through our Sunday school class, so that prayer concerns come through usually weekly. You know, some concern that we pray for everyone in the class. So it's a really
And one of the things in terms of the kids programming too, and one of the things we were so impressed with is the fact that at very early age, it's not just, a babysitting situation in the room. They take all the little tots like this, put them in the little chairs and have a lesson, read the scripture, sing a song, draw on biblical pictures, and actually teach a Sunday school class with the little bits.
it's exciting. That is fun, isn't it?
But when I first saw, 1.5-year-olds and 2-year-olds in the little seats at the tables doing that, it was impressive.
Haley, what's your favorite thing about church?
Oh, my favorite part is that sometimes you get to have playtime.
Is that your favorite thing?
Why don't you clip your mic over?
Okay.
And we'll just ask you.
Okay. There you go. It's okay, just look at Pastor George.
Yeah, what is your favorite thing?
It's playing in the gym. Sometimes I get to play in the gym.
Do you like Sunday school? What do you do in Sunday school?
We study about Jesus. Sometimes we get a poem.
And where did you learn the pledge allegiance to the Christian flag?
Well, there's this big thing that we go to church at, and we have to learn the pledge to the Bible and the pledge to the Christian flag. And then they lead us in a song. We have a little thing that we can song that on.
Could you do that again? The pledge to the Christian flag? Can you do it again?
I pledge allegiance to the Christian flag and to the Savior for whose kingdom it stands. One Savior crucified, risen, and coming again with life
Whew, that is wonderful. That is wonderful. My goodness. That is terrific. Now, did she get that? At which program?
Sunlight Kids Club.
Oh,
On
the,
Sunday nights.
the one they're doing on Sunday night?
Yes. We're gonna talk about the club on Sunday night. I'd like to go too.
Yep, come on over.
Yeah, why don't you go over and we'll put a mic on you. You can tell us about, do you want to do that?
You can talk to me.
Whoa. Little walk. Bugger.
There you go. There.
Yeah, what do you do on Sunday night?
Sometimes after night's club, I go in the bed and play with Anna and Batman.
Sometimes you go play with Anna and Jasmine.
And the family has sunlight club.
Sunlight Club.
Oops.
Where did you learn your memory verse?
Sunlight club.
What was that for Sundays?
From sunlight club. Nothing is impossible with God.
Good job. Microphone.
Have you guys, you're on the visitation team, aren't you?
Yes.
Have you got to make any yet?
Hello.
Okay, all right. Well, I just thought you might have a,
Junior miss running this week was kind of,
On the agenda for this week.
I know it's a lunch.
Yes. We also attend a small group. They started a new praise and worship small group. And since we're on the praise and worship team, we're meeting with that group, and that's been exciting too.
What are you doing today?
We are learning more about praise and biblically based, what kinds of things have been expected, how to praise the Lord. And we've only had one group so far, or one meeting, but it was a really good time of fellowship too. And we're trying to learn a new praise song each time. There we go.
Michael, why don't we remind you here and ask you one more question? I think we'll.
It's his turn to talk. Right before we go, you can have another turn if you sit here next.
Micah, if you had a friend and they were looking for a church, what would you tell them about First Church? Why maybe they should come be a part?
there's a lot to tell about First Church. There's a lot of life here, a lot of exuberance, a lot of.
Let's try that again.
So sorry.
There's a lot of little busy hands.
Welcome to my life.
Shoot.
There's a lot of life here. There's a lot of exuberance. Very lively worship services. A lot in the way of children's programming. There are always activities going on here. Everything from open gym for volleyball or basketball to the kids programs on Wednesday night or Sunday night. You're in front of the camera.
Why don't you take Tori and go over to that other couch, see if you can get her to walk all the way over there, okay? It's actually they're doing them with the sitter, and Donna said, bring them. I'm sure that was a good move.
Whoa.
Okay, go clear over to that couch, way over there. Thank you. Okay. Stay there for a little bit.
try that again.
One of the things that I love about services here is how biblically based the sermons are. I mean, every Sunday, you always read from the Bible, and every sermon is biblically based. I really appreciate that. You can get that across about.
Let's try that one again.
Yes.
If you had a neighbor and they were looking for a church, what would you say to them?
I'd say we have a really nice church right at the edge of town. It's very vibrant, full of life, exuberant, a lot of activities, a tremendous amount of children's programming there. Activities going on all the time, really. Everything from open gym volleyball and basketball to worship services on Sunday nights and children's programming things on Wednesday nights, and a lot of different things to get people in and involved and very spiritual.
What difference has First Church made in your spiritual life?
It's helped me to grow in my prayer life a lot more. It's always been an area I feel like I've been lacking. And there's such an emphasis on prayer at First Church. That's really, really enhanced my prayer life since we've been here.
I'm a lot more fired up spiritually than I had been, and getting interested and excited about some of the biblical scriptures and lifestyles. It's been very helpful here.
What would you like to say that I forgot that I haven't asked you?
Is this going to be on the Rosie O'Donnell show?
And that'll probably be the one part of this interview that's on the tape.
I did this with, do you remember Sue Miller?
No.
Okay. Sue is, of course she had I did an interview with her, and of course she's paraplegic at that point, but it was she was great to interview, but what was so funny at the end, she says, "Are we done? Now turn that thing off." And of course, I left that in. Well, I think that's plenty.
Yep, that'll work.
Okay.
Think you'll be able to salvage anything with
Yeah.
the running back and forth?
I did
Yeah.
some stuff.
That's all right.
Yep,
Hey,
that's part of it.
You can just tell Donna doesn't have little kids.
Can we get Kirsten to walk up and look at the camera thing and tap on the lens?
I really did specifically ask, this is without kids? Oh no, bring them.
Don't worry about it, all right? I'm sure we
Did a
got
good job,
enough.
honey.
She did a great job. I got a feeling she's got a part.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, just speak up a little more loudly.
Love you guys. I just appreciate you so much. I really do. I mean that.
Joy?
You guys are real joy.
Thanks.
You really are.
You lost your assistant.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna leave them here, don't
No.
no.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
That's right.
Have a nice vacation.
Yes.
Okay, Goyles, let's get out of there late.
It's been very helpful.
Well, I thought they looked familiar, that's why I said they look.
Uh-oh. Can we peek over your shoulder?
Yeah, that's fine.
Ooh, that's a
That's a
good
good shot.
You could be able to salvage everything with the running back and forth.
Thanks a lot.
No problem. Thank you very much for your patience.
Glad you're gonna tape over the.
Yeah, I'll try to take over that one. How many we got?
I'll lay across the back.
You can lay down on like this.
You're gonna have 5 here at one time?
This
I'll lay
one's not
across the
going
back.
to. You don't have to have them all, but this one doesn't want to talk.
Me neither.
I don't want to either.
I was told I could just come.
We can't,
Oh, I had to come, so I was told.
you had to.
I'll lay across the
I
back.
didn't tell you you had to come. I thought it would be nice that you did.
How can we do this?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
You 4 sit here, I'll lay across the back.
Josh said he lay on the floor.
We'll sit like this.
That'd be all right.
That'll work, yeah.
Okay.
Come here, dear.
All right. Yeah.
That was good. That was good.
Relax in front.
The 2 guys.
Sit closer, sit between us. Sit between us so we can hold you down.
Don't snore.
Okay. You know what I
We don't
want?
want these two sit by each other, we have to separate.
No, I think it's like number 6 or number 7, whichever one is the crunchy thing, but without. I don't want the spicy one.
noises.
We've already told
Just get the potato wedges with it.
Instead of boring,
Oh,
So who's
man.
talking and who's not here?
Doug will be talking.
How many do you have? You only have 2?
I've got 3.
He's a representative.
Yeah, 3.
I got 3.
Put on 3 guys.
No pie pies.
Now we have to have a woman talking a little bit.
Yeah.
Trisha, you better go ahead.
Go away.
Yeah.
Just in case you get a notion, we'll have it right.
Oh, clips on right about here.
No, that's on you, Mom. You go for it.
I'm gonna slip this cable right in between you two.
So what kind of questions did you ask him, George? Since you kind of did that.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Oh, what's for video?
It was so bad. You know, the heck of it is, she would have been so good.
Josh have one?
I don't think I could have better.
We can talk about
Couple, but I don't know. I can't imagine it being used at all. I mean, because there was always so much noise. I mean, and walking, get down, walking right in front of the camera.
I know, like in the middle of a
Right in
good
the middle
shot.
of the,
Yeah.
right in the middle of the interviews.
You have one?
Yeah, I got
It was,
Well, you could have stopped it. Maybe I could have taken the camera.
well,
But see, that's the problem.
She tried and I helped through the girls for a while, but that was a tough one.
Where's your microphone?
It's laying back there.
Mike,
I got it.
is there a third
I
microphone?
project
He's
my
working
voice. My voice.
No, I'm sorry, we have to.
Your dad's chest.
That might be too much question on stuff.
What did you say, Christian?
She's learned from experience.
We only have the 2 mics in?
No, he's good. He's good.
Yeah, I gotta get the 3rd.
Let's go.
George and a tizzy.
I think you better
But we would, I tell you what, we would just get it going perfect, and the kids would do something. I mean, it was impossible.
Well, and I think probably them having to wait while we got set up for little kids.
They
You know,
were
they've
all-
been here half an hour before, and they don't do well with that.
No.
You need to get them before they get relaxed.
Yeah, for sure.
Sheepish effort.
I tell you, we did get some, I think we probably got as much from the little girl.
Oh, good.
That,
Cindy.
I like that.
Oh, good.
She did the pledge of the Christian flag for us that she learned on Sunday night
Oh.
program. And And the other one did her Bible verse for us, and she named us one guy, so, you know, but it's just it's gonna be a tough one to cut. And Michelle, well, both of those people are so good at project, I mean, yeah, because they do that. I mean,
I told him they'd probably be the easiest couple because they're used to being on stage.
yeah, well, they were very relaxed, you know, except that.
Can you try it in your microphone? Just say your ABCs or something.
A, B, C, D.
Watch us use that, yeah.
Yeah, I tell you what we're gonna do.
Picking me up at all.
Donna, you
Mike's
come.
not working?
No, let's see where you sit, either here or over here, I don't know, I think that'll pull their eyes too far away. Why don't you get
Well,
over
he
here?
doesn't want me sitting there looking at the camera. So
You
what,
don't want to look directly at the camera.
Yeah, but this,
like here,
that'll be okay.
Yeah, that's
on
fine.
here?
So what are you gonna ask?
Well, I don't know, but I think we'll tag team it, I think it'll be better.
Tag team back.
In case I get blank or something.
Oh, it's over.
Because I thought of that last night.
You don't have any notes at all to ask anybody anything?
Nope.
You just have limit at all?
Yeah.
like I said, when I pick the people, I know what was in my mind. I can think about you serving and that thing and how you used to, I used to try to do it at the old church and now you're doing it here and the other banquets we've added because you have the facilities and that. I thought I knew that. You know, I'd have asked you why you didn't quit. Were you going to quit banking and doing this? And you
No.
I know, but you talked about that, but how much you love doing it, and how many families you've gotten involved doing it
How we for
that aren't
life.
doing anything else, but that's their ministry because they come alongside of you and you said, "Come wash dishes," and they do. I don't know why. But they do.
I remember being asked to wash dishes. I think I was put into that one.
But George is really glad that Ed's willing to wash dishes, because you had to put
I
him
think
somewhere.
the Ginsigs, you know, they were
Keep 'em
more
away
involved
from
in
theology.
They didn't regard it all, man, you're just like committed to that.
Yeah, they like that one. That's what-
And their kids.
Are you ready?
Yep, now make sure that you never look toward me, either George or Donna. Never look at me, pretend I'm not here, but your name is just that. Okay?
And I don't know where you're at, but I thought. he
Where's
was what
Rusty?
he was into. I know, he told me he'd be here right before noon.
He's got a couple minutes.
I'm glad you said that. No,
It's
it's
5 to
before
1.
one.
Oh, yeah, it is. I want that Ohio thing.
Well, you're on.
Hey Doug, how long you been coming to First Church?
I don't know exactly the year, but I would say probably 42 years, 43 years. That's 5 or 6, I think, we started coming here.
You were part of the group that went from Washington Street over to Main Street.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I was 9 years old, so I don't remember a lot, but, you know, it was, I remember the old church being small and kind of dark and crowded. And we go to the new church and it's, you know, big and new and fresh. And it was just something different. It was, for a 9-year-old, it was okay. Something that was just different. I didn't have a lot of planning on that one, so.
How did it feel to move from Maine to here?
We weren't, unfortunately, we weren't here the day we moved, so we didn't get in on the big parade. So we didn't get the big thrill that everybody else got, but at first I didn't buy into it, and boy, after we got here, as things start going up, it's really nice. And obviously we needed it, and and being treasurer was scared to death we weren't going to be able to pay for this place, so. But, you know, it's come along great, it's what we needed, and of course there's lots of things here that we can do that we couldn't do over there. And not just in the sanctuary, but we got the gymnasium, the kitchen, and all the things that go along with everything, you know, the daycare. Just so much more that we can do, and that's what we're here for.
You have a ministry, tell me a little bit about that.
It's funny how things get started. I was asked once to grill lamb for feast after the fast. Yeah, feast after the fast. Get that right. And somebody had eaten lamb that I grilled once before, and I told them to give me the ingredients, and they got me something I'd never used before, and it turned most everybody liked the lamb. And then it kind of snowballed. They asked me to do a chicken dinner for 300 ladies, and I went, what are you talking about? I don't do those kind of things. I grill lamb, that's it. And it was interesting going from grilling to trying to cook some things in an oven that was entirely too small a kitchen to do those kind of things in. And unfortunately, or I guess it doesn't really matter, when we built the new church, I wasn't much involved with planning of the kitchen, but it's turned out to be a great, great thing. Somehow I've been dubbed as the cook for all the meals from now on. So, and my family helps out, and we've got lots of people who just are interested in cooking and doing those kind of things, and that maybe have some talent, maybe have more talent than I do, but I got there first, I guess, and so I'm taking advantage of the fact of being kind of ahead of that and enjoying it. And so far as I can tell, all the meals we've fixed have been a success. So, and to go from doing a little cooking back at home and here and there to preparing meals for 500 is quite a change. We've got a good enough kitchen now that we can do that, and it's neat. I enjoy it.
Darlene, you've been involved in the ministry too. What does it mean?
Well, it gives Doug and I a chance to work side by side, cooperation. Gives, we do a lot of planning, and he kind of takes care of one part, like the hot food. I take care of desserts and drinks, and rounding up some of the help, and it's really been fun. We've had a good time doing it. And, our kids are involved now. Nate and Josh wash dishes. They do a good job. Tricia does whatever we ask her to. It's kind of become a family thing. Like we said, we have a lot of friends that come in and help, and a lot of people volunteer. We don't have to go out and ask. They actually ask us if we can use help, which is really appreciated.
How's First Church ministry?
Oh boy. I've been coming to First Church since maybe 29 years now, and I don't know what I would do if I wouldn't have my church family. They're always there. Cut.
No, you're doing great.
They're always there. There's friends everywhere. You can always ask for help. I don't know, if I wouldn't have my First Church friends, what would I have? You can cut.
I think about a totally different direction here, if you want to talk to just about some things that Nate's been involved in, and seeing him transition and everything from, anything that connects with you, whether it's with your dad or other stuff.
No, I just like being able to do stuff with the family in the church. It's a family inside a family, where it's neat to be able to finally, do stuff with your parents. With the way we are right now, we're all over the place. We're doing different activities. The family's really never together a whole lot. To sit down for a meal, and here's a chance where we actually get a fixed meal, and then we get to sit down and eat together. It's pretty neat.
Are you in student Sunday school class? How's it going?
The Sunday school class is going pretty good. From where we were a year ago, where we had maybe 2 people in that class, to now we've grown. We've got about 10 people or so in the class. I like the fact that we actually have some people, some young adults that are getting involved in church. Whereas before Donna was here, we were lucky to have maybe 5 on a good Sunday.
What about youth group?
Youth group, good gosh. 5 years ago, there was no youth group. Or I don't know how many years we've been here, Donna. It's been 4 years. Before Donna got here, there was no youth involvement in the church. Then all of a sudden she comes along, and now we got 30, 40 youth every Sunday. And it was neat to be part of that first group where we started seeing things coming together. The first night we had youth group, we had maybe 10 people show up, and we went out and we just went looking for more people to come in and just get the word out about it. And then to see it just start to snowball and and just seeing the impact on youth's lives is neat.
Doug, you have a unique experience in this church, I think. I'm not sure, but I think you may have been the only teen that went to Haiti. And now as an adult, you've gone back, and you're going to go back again. What does all that mean to you? I mean, what kind of impact does it have on your life?
It's kind of funny because when we went the first time, I was scheduled to go and we got canceled that year. And when I come around the next time, I was playing basketball, and that was way too important to take time out of basketball to go to Haiti. And the night before we left, one of the guys that was on the basketball team was planning to go, and he hurt his arm and shoulder, could not go, and they had an open ticket. They said, Doug, you're the only person that's got the shots and they're ready to go. I said, I ain't going. You know, I was not going to do that. They talked me into it. They prayed with me and got me through this little thing. And so I had 24 hours to prepare to go to Haiti. That wasn't quite enough, I don't think. It was kind of a culture shock the first night. It was just a shock. But when I left there, I said, you know, and I told Darlene, I didn't know her at the time, but when we got started dating, I said, yeah, I went to Haiti once. I want to go back sometime. We took the trip to the Dominican Republic 4 or 5 years ago, and I said, well, it's the same island. I guess I made my trip back. And then just spur of the moment, we sat in Sunday school and was offered that we have this another trip coming up. And Darlene said, hey, you got vacation time. Why don't you go? And I thought, yeah, I do. And it was wonderful. I mean, I cannot explain what that trip does for you. It's an opportunity to serve people who can't help themselves. They don't have the money, they don't have the wherewithal to do what they need done in some areas. And Darlene said, well, you know, there's things around here that you guys can do. And I said, yeah, but anybody can do that. People who go to Haiti go there and can do things for people who can't do what we can do for them. And you know, we got down there and saw that our sister church was in a position that did not have they had a building that was way too small for them. They've been trying for 10 years to build a new one. And they've got the building up, but they don't have a roof on it, so they still can't do the project. And on the way back from when all we did was visit, we saw the school, we saw the kids. And on the way back, I said, this isn't right.
Cut.
That's about how I felt on the bus, too. I said, we just put up a $4 million building and they can't put a roof on their church. So I said, Steve, it's going to cost to put that roof on that church, Rosie. He said, I don't know, but if you want to know, I'll figure it out before we leave. I said, give me a price. We'll be back. I don't know how we'll get the money for sure. We'll be back and put that roof on next year. And every one of the guys was down there. Along with 2 of our sons and a couple other guys are going back. We're going to put that roof on the church.
Let's give Josh and Tricia a mic.
After Dad gets them all choked up now, then.
That's fine.
Okay, so, when do you guys get married?
May 19th.
2001?
Yes.
No, you need to say 2001. Yes, they will understand, yes.
So again, when do you get married?
I'm gonna try this again. When do you get married?
May 19th, 2001.
Take three.
Oh, gee. Hey, Josh, when, you're a little different than the rest of these guys, because, well, Darlene's been here long enough, but certainly this is, you kind of came in, I mean, had you had any church background before you started here?
A little bit. We used to go a lot before, my dad passed away when I was 7. So it was, after that, it was I kind of felt like, what was the use really? It was hard for me being so young, losing a parent. It just didn't seem like that was fair and that was right. And I really didn't know how to handle it at that young age. And I'd go with my grandparents every once in a while. So when I met Trisha, she was, asking me to go all the time, and I was, nah, I really didn't want to. And then on Friends Day, she asked me if I'd go when I was in high school, and I ended up going. Been going ever since then.
Tell me, how did your relationship with Jesus change?
It changed a lot. I mean, I remember you talking about grace and everything, and I thought, I've done so much that it's not for me, I can't be forgiven for what I've done and what I've done to other people. And it really dawned on me that, there is still a chance for me. And that, there is a reason for me being here.
So, how's your relationship together? How has it changed? Trish.
I think he's probably even a stronger Christian now than I am. And just probably because I've grown up in the church my whole life, and I've seen like just a bigger impact on him within the last few years that it's just more noticeable to me than, growing up with it my whole life. But it's really good for our relationship.
What does it mean to you to get married?
It means a lot to me. It's what I've always wanted, and I didn't think it would ever happen that I would, meet somebody who would want to get married in a church or even start going to a church with me. Either if I met somebody they wouldn't go to church here, and then we'd have to feud on which church we would get married at or something, and it's just somebody who's come along with me and can do what I wanted to do then.
What about the Sunday school class that the two of you were involved in? How's that been helpful in your relationship?
I think it's helped both of us to realize, that we are just starting out and being a pre-marriage class. It's nice to see other people who, are going through and have been through some of the same things we are. And it's nice to make new friends like that, to be able to, to discuss with Jim and Carolyn and everybody, things that may be in our minds and what we're looking forward to and what, we want out of our relationship and how to reach that.
Okay. Are you going to Hayden?
No,
But you're going to
Yeah.
this time.
He doesn't have a microphone.
No.
He hasn't, I was thinking of the idea that you've been on a couple of mission trips, and now it's Haiti, and if you can have any comment on how that led to.
Yeah.
How you
I'll-
did it.
yeah.
Trisha's always wanted to go on a mission trip, he's never got to.
Oh, is that right?
Donna
Wow.
wasn't here when she was.
We need adult sponsors, so we can work on
Yeah,
that.
now we need it on the other end. Yeah,
Well,
these guys would be great.
And I really think they've probably got a close proximity next year of them where the youth director can find them pretty easily.
I'm looking to transfer the junior high carpet across the street, so.
Is that right?
Yeah, they
You
can.
guys live right out there?
across the street from us.
Right across the street.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, that's a good way to go here of, you made a couple of trips, right?
Right. I went to West Virginia and Mexico, both with the senior high group. They're a lot of fun. You really grow closer together with your Christian friends here at the church, and you make a lot of new friends that you didn't go to school with or were a couple years behind you. And then you also get into the ministry. You get involved with it a little bit, and you start to build in your Christian life in a new way that you can't do with the church. What I look forward to in Haiti is that transition from going from the senior high, the youth group to, okay, now this is the adult group. No longer you're not a kid anymore. You're an adult. You're going to people older than you instead of being the oldest one, and you get to learn things because these are people who have done this before. They're experienced Christians, they're strong Christians, and I think it's gonna be a life-changing experience for me.
Darren, what has the catering ministry, what has it done for you personally?
The catering.
Well, the cooking and, I don't know what else to call it. What would you call it, catering?
I don't know, sometimes it's funny how the Lord leads your life, I think. Right now I'm self-employed, so I can kind of set my own hours and, kind of come and go. And if it wouldn't be for that, I wouldn't be able to help Doug as much. We've had a couple events that are during the day, so, I can take off and I can work with him. And I've really enjoyed it. I'm an organizer. Doug's a doer. So he's kind of had to learn. He's had to kind of take me along with him. But it's been good. I enjoy it. It's something maybe 4 or 5 years ago we would have never dreamed of cooking for even 50 people, let alone trying to cook for 500 people. But like I said before, if we wouldn't have all the great help we do, it couldn't be done.
Hey, you guys have been great.
Yeah.
But if everybody makes me cry like this, it's like it's gonna be one long day. It's like, come on. I do have an event at 7. I didn't kind of go home and get redone, so.
I think, hey, is there something that you wanted to share that?
No.
I didn't. No? I'm sorry.
Want to start over and do yours again?
I don't want to try again. We'll be better the next time.
No, you guys did great. You just did great. And
We're probably not on tape now, but I'll say it anyway. One thing that I think has really helped with being in the churches through our whole married life is raising our kids up in the church. I don't know how people do it if they don't have a church family and Christian teachers and Christian Sunday school teachers and I can't take credit for raising our kids, but I was in our church. If we didn't have our church, I'm not for sure which path Tricia and me would have gone down. So I'm really thankful to have a church like the First Church of God that help raise our kids.
good stuff.
That's probably the best of the whole one. You didn't want to talk and you just got stuck in a position.
I was thinking the woman didn't want to talk every time she opened her mouth.
True.
And I assume that was running.
That's okay if it wasn't.
I could tell, I could sense myself.
No,
That
Great
was-
job, you
that was
guys.
great.
Thank you so
Here,
much
let me
for
give you
coming.
hands here.
It's all right. I need it. I got you.
You got it? All right.
You might want to bring a box of clean.
Yeah, I was thinking of bringing it around here.
You did a great job.
And it's like, you don't use any of it.
Thanks, guys, for coming. No, listen,
Hey, go ahead and have a seat, and we'll get you a wire here for Sam.
Do you want the two little ones as preference?
I don't have any sides.
Goes right about here, so adjust.
Yeah, how's this gonna work?
I'm gonna stick this. Might have to stick this in between. I'll stick this one there.
Does the white thing go out or does it matter? Because I think the clip needs to go in so I can go right on the little button right there.
Try to stick this up underneath your arm so that not a lot of cable shows.
Yeah, because that's what, when I get Coronas, they just wind up and it's easy to
Wait. I couldn't believe it. How long did I go? Oh, how you guys doing?
Great.
Good, huh?
Great.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, an advertisement right here. This is
Say, you know they're playing right now.
Oh my gosh! So we'll do this quickly.
No, I'm just joking.
And,
Okay, the entire time during the interview, pretend that nobody else is here and just look at George.
Okay.
Never look at the camera. Stay completely focused.
am I going to be too far over? Am I going to pull their eyes too far over? Here?
We did move the chair a little bit.
Yeah. Put it at a tighter angle. I'm just thinking. Right. How's that look? Whoop.
You're on the table. There we go.
Get a crane. We're talking about heavyweight.
Not too bad.
Long day?
Man, no.
How early did you start?
Oh, we didn't. I started early. Here, we just started like an hour ago. But, oh, all right. How are they looking?
Try to get rid of the glasses.
Okay. Yeah, I know, that's a tough deal. I used to have a pair of glasses that had like a cut glass rim around here. And it just was dazzling light. Everybody get about it.
Okay, sir, can I get you to trade your microphone, please?
Pardon?
Just say the ABCs or something.
Hello, 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Ma'am.
Yeah. Hello. Hello, I'm here. It's on.
These guys.
We're probably gonna
We aren't movie stars. Okay.
You say when you're ready.
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
Okay. Wow. Whew. Get all relaxed here. Hey, how long you guys been coming to First Church?
About 4 years.
Yeah, 4, 5, something like that.
What was your very first impression?
The first time we came? The first time we came, actually, to be honest, I was scared to death. I actually was afraid to go to church. Logan was in preschool here, and we had brought him, and he had attended a couple of weeks before we came to church. And we decided we would come and see what it was like. And we came in, and the church was packed. I mean, it was full of people, and we were just like, ooh, wow. So it was kind of scary, actually. My first impression was scary. I can't speak for Chad, but my first one was scary.
Were the people kind or?
Oh,
Friendly?
yeah, they were friendly. They were. And it was nice to see a person here or there that you recognized from preschool. So that was really great. So they kind of went over and, oh, we're glad to see you here. So it made you feel welcome. You were very grateful for that. Yeah.
How about you, Chad?
Well, I had been in church when I was a young kid, so I was familiar with it, but mainly it was Lori's family, Lori's cousin, the Garrises, who we had sat next to and kind of clung on to for the first few weeks. But no, I felt very welcome, and to me, I felt right at home right away.
What had been your church background, Lori?
Mine, I had none. We went to an occasional wedding in a church. That was probably the closest to going to church I ever had. We didn't go on Sunday mornings, and I always looked at people that did go on Sunday mornings to maybe be a different kind of person than what I was, not understanding, what they were doing or what they were. I mean, I didn't understand that. I didn't understand God. I didn't understand why they went on Sundays. I mean, I was always curious when we went for weddings, what went on. But the attitude growing up was always fairly negative, not extremely, but fairly. When we went to a wedding, it was you go in, you go, you hurry up and leave. You don't stay for the reception. You don't stay in the church any longer than you have to. So I really had none growing up.
What would the word saved have meant to you at that point?
I don't know. I don't think I would have understood it. I just don't think I would have understood what saved was. I don't think I would have had a clue at all.
And so then after you attended, what was the desire in your heart?
Actually, George, I believe that God worked on me before we ever came. I really believe that because He put that desire to go in the first place. I mean, I never went to a church when I was growing up. We put Logan in preschool at First Church. And that's when we started thinking there's a better way of life for us and for our children and for raising them. And I believe that even then, when I didn't know Him, He was working. I just truly believe that. So I think He worked then to bring us in, to even bring us here. He worked on us then. And once we were here, then He just worked on my heart. Just worked on it.
So would you like to tell what kind of happened that night? You invited me over?
Well, that was funny. The first 2 times we attended, after the second time, we got a call from First Call Ministries, and they asked us, would you like the pastor to come out? And we said, oh, no, that's not necessary, We don't need to see the pastor. We just need to, we're glad we're coming, but that's enough. And so then the following week that we went, you had a sermon, and I can't remember what it was on, but I cried. And it just really touched my heart. And so the next week, the same thing happened, and I cried again. And then I was really upset because I was crying, because I didn't want anybody to know I was crying. I didn't want anybody to see me in church crying. And so we called you at that point. I said, Chad, I think we need to call the pastor. I think he needs to come. And so we called you, and you came out. And at first, I wasn't sure what I wanted to talk to you about, so I asked you a bunch of questions about the church. And finally, you just directed me in the right direction, and we sat down and talked about it, and I had told you of some things that were bothering me and hurting me, and things that I didn't know. If I ask God in my heart, what do I do with those things? What do I do? What about that hurt that I had? You told me then just to give it to Him. And I did. And He took it all. He took every bit of it. I felt so cleansed after you were there and after I prayed. It was just overwhelming. I think the feelings that I had were, it was a release. I just felt so
like a huge weight was lifted from me. I just felt as if it was gone. It was, to physically describe it is almost impossible. You can't. I'm sorry.
Chad, what about you for that night? What went through your mind?
Well, the first time I had accepted God was December 28th, 1980. I went to a little tiny church that had about 50 people, and little old pastor, probably about 65, 70 years old. And that was the first time I accepted Jesus. And then I hit the teenage rebellious years and kind of grew away from God, grew away from the church. And but in my heart, see, all that time, I knew that something was just not right, but I continued to ignore God. And it was just really interesting. Lori had mentioned, she was not churched. Years ago, God had planned that night to happen. And that night, it was just like Lori described it. It was just very touching, and that was the night that I rededicated my life to the Lord. And the timing was perfect, just for Thanksgiving. I mean, what better way to give thanks than having God come back into my life and come into my wife's life? He's just amazing.
So the anniversary of that time is going to be just about our campaign, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yep.
What is First Church going to be today?
Oh, wow. First Church has done a lot. God's done a lot. God's worked in our lives and allowed First Church to introduce Him to us. And I feel now that He works through First Church to help us grow and to help me know Him. It's helped me learn about Him, learn to know exactly what it's like to have a Savior and exactly what that means. And to grow in Him is, you can't do it by yourself. You have to have help. And First Church has done so much for that. They've really done good.
Chad, you're involved in a prayer ministry. Could you describe maybe what that means to you or your involvement in that ministry?
That was one of the big turning points for me. I'm not one to pray out loud, or I wasn't. In fact, that was probably about the first time that I really prayed out loud in ages. And I felt God had been calling me to be on the pastor's prayer team. And the first Sunday I went in there, in fact, I believe Rusty Parrish was the leader at that time for that Sunday. And we all went in your office, and we were kneeling and praying for you. And I could just hear everybody praying one by one. And I was like, uh-oh, that means I really got to start praying here pretty soon. And I was like, what do I say? What do I do? And instead of trying to think of what to say, I just, again, just opened up my heart and said, okay, God, what do you want me to say? And from that point on, I don't have any problems. It kind of opened up the floodgates. I play usually I'm the one that people ask to pray for at family dinners, whether it be Lori's side or my side, and it just never happened before. In a lot of ways, I'm kind of a quiet person by nature, but in a lot of ways, I'm also a very talkative person. And it just is amazing. And when whatever is on your heart, it's not what I want to say, it's what God wants me to say.
You did a funeral recently. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, when you asked Lori what First Church meant to her, I really never knew until this past spring when my father passed away. When he first passed away, we had called our Sunday school for the prayer team. And first it was just my father was in critical condition. And within 10 minutes after we got the first phone call, we got the second phone call that he had passed away. And within 10 minutes, they were members of our Sunday school class at my house praying with me. And not only praying for me, but for my family up in Michigan who they had never met. And we had went up and planned all the arrangements, came back and picked up her children, and our answering machine was just full of messages from church members, letting us know they were praying for us, if there was anything they could do. Mailboxes just jam-packed with cards of concern. And my stepmother had asked me to do the eulogy for my father, which again, the salesman that I am, I thought I shouldn't have much of a problem. But in all honesty, when I sat down to write the eulogy, I did not do it till after the viewing, and the funeral was the next morning. And after the viewing is when I just sat down at the computer, everybody had gone to bed, and God just spoke to me and what he wanted me to say at that eulogy. The next day, before the funeral was to start, or the eulogy, I was pacing in the back of the room, and you had come in all the way up to Michigan, and you came back and at that time said, let's do a prayer. You didn't ask me. You just said, let's do a prayer. And when we started doing that prayer, I could feel a tingly motion come through my body. And I just knew it was the Holy Spirit coming. And I went in there and did that eulogy and did not shed one tear. And that was not my concern. My concern was getting through it and getting the message across that I wanted to get. My dad was not a strong Christian, but he knew who God was. And over the last year, I believe he had asked God to come back into his life. And the message I wanted to get across is those who don't know God to get to know him before his or her time is up. And it was a very strong message that I felt I gave. And at that point, it was God. When I got done, I had an emotional letdown. And amazingly enough, this is one thing that you don't know, 2 weeks later, our neighbor, her brother passed away. She had asked me to do his eulogy. And the amazing part is just the week before you had done a story on the mustard seed. And in doing that gentleman's eulogy, I didn't know who he was, never knew who he was. But when I opened my Bible that night, the night before doing the eulogy, I come right to the mustard seed. And it's just amazing. Again, God had spoke to me. God woke me up. I felt that I was not a dying Christian, but I was stagnant. And through my father's death, he's revived me again. Made me realize the importance of the church, more importantly, the importance of God, and how important and who your true friends really are, and that's members of the church.
Lori, you mentioned nursery school a couple of times. Does it have a special place in your heart as far as the ministry? And I know you work here too.
Yeah.
But
in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways. The first way it has a special place in my heart is I feel that if it weren't for the preschool, that maybe I would not have been drawn. Maybe I would have anyway, but I can't really say that God would have given up on me at that point. But I know that that's part of the reason it has a special place, because that's how we came here. We came here because we had our children enrolled in the nursery school, and so I know that alone has a special place. Another reason that it does is because I grew up not knowing God. I grew up not having any knowledge of him at all. And I feel it's so important for the children to be touched in any way that they possibly can be. And the best way to do it is, from when they're little on up. And so it's important to me for a lot of ways, that it touches the children, that they learn about Christ, that they learn about His love. And just any old nursery school doesn't do it. If it's not a Christ-centered place, then He's not going to touch them. And so it's important to me for a lot of ways. That's a very important ministry here at church.
Now, I know you guys have only been in AIM for 2 weeks, but we need a little, commercial. So, what do you think of AIM?
Well, actually, the other night at Bible study, I go to a Bible study on Thursday evenings, and I told everybody there that I could be your walking commercial for AIM class because I have everybody that I ran into, I said, you've got to take this AIM class. It is totally awesome. You just have to take AIM. It's wonderful. And it is because I feel, especially I feel, that I wasted time in not taking it. I feel when I first became a Christian, and I did take some discipleship things, and it did set me off in the right direction. But the AIM class, what I've noticed so far is that it has not only set me off in the right direction, but it's put my heart in the right place. It's helped me to understand God. It's helping me to know Him more than what I knew Him before. And I just feel all around closer to Him. I feel very convicted about the time. I thought I was doing good as a Christian because I spent every morning reading my Bible and talking and praying, and I thought, hey, you're doing great. And then when I really got into AIM, even within the first week, all the time that I spent with Him, talking to Him, reading about Him, learning about Him, I felt so convicted that how could I possibly think that I was a good Christian? How could I possibly think? I was asking Him to come to me. I wasn't going to Him. I was putting Him on my convenience role, you know? It was like when it was convenient for me, I sit down and I talk to Him, and that shouldn't be that way. He needs to be the most important priority in your whole entire life, and AIM class has really opened my eyes to that. And I really think that if you don't take it, you're never going to learn that, you're never going to know that, and that's the most important thing you need to learn and need to know. And so I could pull everybody aside in the church and tell them to take it. Then we go, watch out, here comes Lori Richter, go away. Go down this other hallway instead. But they're really missing it if they're not taking it. They truly are. They're missing a whole big picture that they don't see. I know I didn't see at first. So
I just thought about, I think this was your class, just you were in junior church and stuff, and just recently you had new curriculum and some one Sunday morning about, was it your class that a child accepted Christ?
Yes.
Can you just share a little bit about that?
Oh, it was fun. In my Sunday school class, I had a little girl who's 5. We have a new curriculum we're doing, and part of it entails storytelling, which I have enjoyed thoroughly. I've had a blast dressing up in costume and coming into the room pretending to be someone else, and it's been wonderful. And last week or the week before, I went into the room and pretended to be a slave, and I talked about the healings that Jesus did to some of my friends. And I had a little girl in my class who was just awestruck by the story. And she said, and she watched, and you could tell that she was just not missing a thing. She wasn't missing a beat when I was talking to her. She was just so into the story. And I told her about the gentleness of Jesus and how much He loved us and how He healed my friend. And by the time the story was over, this little girl was just totally captivated. So when we moved on to another project, I gave it open to the children. One of the kids had mentioned something about going to heaven, and so I asked them if they understood about going to heaven and how to get there. And of course, they sparked a discussion, and I reminded them that I was always there to pray with anybody who didn't think they had Jesus in their heart, and anybody who wasn't sure what that meant. I was always open to pray with them, and the rest of the children were doing something. If they felt the need to come to me, that they could. And this little girl came to me, and she said, Mrs. Richter, I'm just not sure, but I think I need to talk to Jesus. And I wept. I was just ecstatic. And so we sat down and I talked to her and I asked her some questions. And by the time we were finished, I know she understood. I know she understood what it meant. And so she asked Christ into her heart herself. And it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. It was thrilling.
Okay. Do you have anything that you want to just say that we didn't ask maybe? Or anything?
One thing, next month is 2 years that one of Lori's uncles passed away. After his funeral, Lori and our daughter had went to the store, and my son and I were outside. He was swinging and I was pushing him, and he asked me, about death. Why, did Uncle Don die? Where is he? What's going on? He was just very confused. And the best way I could, I tried to explain what had happened. And he started asking questions about Jesus. And that day was one of the happiest days of my life. My son asked Jesus into his heart. And I was just glad to be a part of that. My wife knew something was up when she got home, and I was swinging on the swings with him.
An adult on the swing set, I wondered what was going on.
But that was one of the happiest moments of my life. And, again, it happened in November, time of Thanksgiving, and November seems to be good to us.
But had we not come, George, had we not come to church in the first place, that would have never happened. If we wouldn't have answered God's calling to us, that would have never happened.
That's the amazing part. Here's another plug for George's AIM class. and reading that Experiencing God, one thing I never realized is when I pray to God, I thought I was praying to God for things that I wanted. And in that book, it pointed out that, God leads you to those prayers. It's not the other way around. And, every person that sits in the pew every Sunday, God's working on them in one way or the other. And just like Abraham, sometimes it may take a day. In Abraham's case, it was 25 years. We just have to be patient and take whatever God gives us, whether our assignment is small or large.
Great. Oh, no, it's fine.
Oh,
Just-
okay.
Just talk. No, you just talk to me. Don't even worry about it.
Because that's why what I intended to say on the tape.
No? What was that? What did you intend to say?
I moved here in 1939, and at that time we heard of Reverend Schroyer's church here on North Washington Street. And he had been the pastor at the Mount Tabor Church of God, where we had come from. And that's where we're going tomorrow, to Rich Pride's ordination service, and I hear you're having the message. Anyway, we moved there when I was in the 8th grade, and when I was a freshman, we went to Reverend Schroyer's church then. And I have gone to the church here for 60 years. I became a member that year I was converted, and became a member, and joined the church, and baptized, I think, maybe the next year, and have been here ever since.
So you attended Mount Tabor before you came here?
No, but we lived near there.
Oh, okay.
We lived about 6-7 miles from there, but we went to a Hastings Evangelical United Brethren Church.
Okay.
And they're still going, but they're getting very weak now. It's a little white country church, something like Oak Grove used to be.
So you made the transition from Washington Street to Main Street.
Right. And at that time, we didn't think possibly we could help build that church, because we had just come through the Depression and the World War II, and my husband and I had just gotten married in 1946. And we had 4 children, and when of course, everybody was coming home from the service, and all of us were having 3 or 4 children, so it soon crowded the church out. And at that time, we didn't even have a basement. It was just one room and a balcony. And the classes were up and down in the church, upstairs and downstairs. The girls were in different classes than the boys. And it was real fun because even the adult classes were, in male and female. So when we got up about that age, we decided everybody should be together. So we put the boys and girls together in our youth group. And what I like is the people we knew at that time, some of them are still going here to church, and we've had these fellowships all this time and raised our families together all these times, and had money projects to build that church on Main Street. We didn't have money, but my husband was he and Jack Shinneman cut trees, and that was one of the projects we had. They cut down big trees, and then they were paid a certain amount for that. The whole class would chip in. Excuse me. And they raised onions, and we sold, what would be considered recycled now. Had rummage sales and all those kinds of things to bring in money, and that was a lot of work. I'm glad we don't have to do that now, but we really appreciate the fact in those days in the church. We were concerned. I was a Sunday school teacher. I taught 3rd grade class for about 30 years, and we were concerned because there were not enough young men involved in the church services and doing things, because especially for little boys, here they are, they have their mom at home all the time, they go to school and they have a woman school teacher, they come to church, and then they have a woman Sunday school teacher. So we were concerned that they were not having a male influence in their lives. And at that time, the men were pretty much involved in trying to make a living, and didn't see the need for it. The women we were doing a good job. It wasn't that we weren't doing a good job. It's just they needed the man's influence in their lives. And we're glad to say that now, through a lot of our efforts, the young men are really involved in this church. And they were starting to be over on Main Street also. But up until that time, they hadn't been. But I think Promise Keepers has done a lot for the men of the church, because they felt their need of leadership. And we women wanted them to lead, but they didn't want to lead, so we're happy for that.
Tell me about your mom.
George, can you switch down places?
Oh, we got her turned too far.
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry. I should have thought of that. It was a little tight.
Yeah, just
getting too much to the side of your face.
Oh, I see.
But that's fine. We're
Okay,
fine.
so I'm supposed to be looking at you?
No, that's no, you look at all 3 of us here. I'm pretty ugly to look at, so you can look at. Tell me about your mother.
My mother was Harriet Method, and if it wouldn't have been for her, we wouldn't have been in church. And that was another thing. I'm glad you mentioned that, Georgia, because I wanted to encourage the mothers that are coming here and their husbands aren't coming, and they're thinking, maybe is this all worthwhile? And my mother took us to church. My dad never went to church until all 3 of us kids were married. And it was through the Gleaners class at that time. They were having a revival service at one of the churches, and Mom got Dad to go to it. And the Gleaners class had been praying for him, and he accepted the Lord, and ever since that time then he went to church. But Mom was one of these people that could do everything. Our church at that time was only 100 people, 150 people, and she would write plays, she would make the scenery, she would do the costuming, and then she would have the production of it. And so I think they're still using maybe some of her costumes in the big things we have right now. But she loved it. And we didn't have a car at that time.